Hey guys, this is Zach with CBI and Prinsu. Today we're going to do an install for the Sprinter van ladder, and we're going to jump into this video as if you had just installed the rack onto your Sprinter van, and it should be pretty straightforward. So let's get to it. All right, so when you open up your box, you're going to make sure you have all the components. We got two long pieces here that are mirrored. They're going to be opposite. We're going to have 7 of these rungs that are labeled with an M for middle. We're going to have a flat plate that looks like this, a rung with a T for top, and then the last rung is labeled with a B for bottom. We're also going to have 2 brackets that mount the ladder to the rack, and they're slightly different, so make sure that you don't have the same one twice. The bottom mounting bracket looks like this. And then these 2 guys, these go on the bottom. Make sure you get 2 of them that are mirrored as well. And last but not least, this guy. Also mirrored. As far as tools for this install, we're going to need a couple 7/16 wrenches, a 9/16 wrench, and a 3/4 inch wrench, along with some drill bits and also a ladder, because this thing is tall. All right, so first thing is we're going to grab, I forgot to mention a Torx 30 bit. We're going to grab that 7/16 wrench, your flat plate here, and then both of these brackets, and we're going to head up on top of the rack and add them onto the rack. Okay, so once you're on top of the vehicle, you're going to want to uninstall this bracket here that's on the back side of the side rail, and you're going to replace it with this flat bracket here. You'll see it just slips right underneath the crossbar and lines up with those holes. Then you're going to take your brackets here, and there's a slot with a slit in it, and so you'll fish it underneath the side rail, and you'll have to loosen up the mounting points here, but you just slide it on top of the mounting foot of the side rail, and then you just tighten it down. All right, so we're up on top of the vehicle here. This is the inside of the driver's side rail. This is where the 2 side rails connect here. So what we're gonna do is grab this bracket. It looks like that. It'll focus. And then we're going to slide it underneath the side rail. Make sure that this washer goes on top of it, and it'll slip right in. And then we're just going to reinstall some screws here and cinch this down, and we should be ready to go. And then it's the same on the other side. The bracket looks a little bit different. And then also don't forget to put this flat plate on the back side of the side rail, and we'll show you what it looks like when we're all done. All right, now that we have the mounting brackets on the side rails, we're going to go ahead and put together the top section of the ladder. So we're going to grab this rung here labeled T, and then these brackets that look like this, and you're going to orient them with this little window facing like that together. And then you drop in some carriage bolts with nuts on the back and tighten everything down. All right, and while we're at it, we're gonna go ahead and do the bottom section as well. So we're gonna grab the rung with a B on it, labeled bottom, and we're gonna do the same way. So we'll grab it in this orientation, line it up with the square holes here, and then cinch down those carriage bolts and nuts. All right, now that we have the top section put together, we're gonna go ahead and put it onto the brackets that we already installed onto the side rails. So we're just gonna go up there with 8 carriage bolts and nuts, and we're gonna go and just slide them onto the flanges that are sticking out from the side rail. Okay, now that we have the top section installed, we're ready to go ahead and work on the middle section. So we're gonna grab all 7 of our middle rungs that are labeled with an M and our long pieces here, and we're gonna go ahead and install those with the carriage bolts and the nuts. And you're done. So when we go to put this on top of the vehicle, we're gonna grab the top that's labeled T. On these long edges, one of them you'll see has slots on it, and it's got a T. And so that's what's gonna go and line up with the top section there. So you might wanna grab a friend or something and hold it up there while you get all your bolts in place. Let's go to the inside, yeah. All right, with the middle section installed, we're ready to go ahead with the bottom section. That looks like this. We're just gonna go ahead and slip it on the inside of the top section here and then fasten it in with some of these carriage bolts and nuts. You'll also notice that there's some adjustability with the slots here. We're gonna mess with that later. Once we have the bottom bracket installed, we'll loosen those up, make sure everything fits right, and then we'll tighten them back up to make sure everything fits correctly. All right, so now we're ready to install the last piece of this ladder, which is this mounting bracket. So where it goes is we're gonna slide it up on top of here, make some room for it on the other side so it can sit up right there. And so now you can kind of see where all of these holes are gonna be. There's gonna be a 3/8 inch bolt that goes here, 1/2 inch bolt here, and then up there, there's gonna be another 3/8 bolt. So we gotta drill a hole for this one and then that one. And then there's a pre-existing hole for this one, so we don't have to worry about that. But we'll go through each step here and show you how to drill those holes. All right, so the first hole we're gonna drill here is gonna be for this clip nut here. This one's actually already installed, but I'll show you how to do it. You're gonna take out this rubber cover from the hole there, and then slide the clip nut on. Take your mounting plate up and just make sure the holes look like they're gonna line up. Keep that clip nut there and drill a pilot hole through where the center is going to be, and then take the clip nut out, drill it up to where you can fit a 3/8 inch bolt through there, and then put the clip nut back in. I cut out a little notch here in the rubber cover just to make sure it still has a good seal around it, and put that back in, and then move on to the next hole. All right, so what I recommend doing for this hole up here is taking your bolt and putting it into the clip nut you just installed, and then you'll know just how everything is supposed to line up. I'll do that real quick. You can at least get an idea of it. And then push that bracket flush against the inside of the frame and push up, and you'll be able to see right where you need to drill your hole. Maybe drill a little pilot hole or make a mark, and then take the bracket out, go back and re-drill it up to about a little bigger than 3/8 for that bolt that's going to be coming through. And then when you do the install, you're going to grab this thick washer here that has a hole just big enough for the 3/8 bolt. Drop it in on the top side, and then you're good to put a nut and washer in there and tighten it up. Okay, so now that's tight. Before going and doing the other holes, I recommend, now that this is somewhat stable with his here, going and putting in the bolts that connect this bracket to the bottom section of the ladder, and then you can make sure everything fits just right. All right, so get these 6 bolts snug, not too tight. And then we're gonna go back on the outside, and where the middle section of the ladder connects to the top and bottom, we're gonna loosen those so that it has some adjustability. And then we'll come back underneath, tighten these, install the mounting bracket, and then at the very end, we'll go back and tighten where those joints are between the top and bottom sections of the ladder. Okay, now that we have the joints between the top and bottom and middle sections of the ladder loose, we're gonna go ahead and do our final fastening point for the mounting bracket on the bottom here. We're gonna grab this stick nut is what we call it. We're gonna put it up through this hole. There's a big access panel up here. You just pop off the rubber cover, and then you hold this down until you can see it through here, and then you slip your big bolt here. This is a 1/2-inch bolt with a really big square washer. You put that through there and thread it into this nut. And once you have that in, go ahead and tighten up your 3 fastening bolts, and then we can go and tighten the rest of the ladder together. All right, so that wraps up the install today for the Sprinter van ladder. If you have any questions, be sure to drop a comment below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next install.